Hi everyone. A little bit late to the party on this, but I thought I would discuss Andrew Tate and the most obvious fake conversion to Islam I've ever seen in my life. Um, this happened a few weeks ago, and for those who don't know Andrew Tate, I didn't know who the hell this guy was until a few months ago, and he started appearing everywhere. He was all over YouTube, all over the other social media platforms. Apparently, he's some ex-kickboxer who's reinvented himself as a kind of Jordan Peterson type figure. So he appeals to young men um, who having problems in their life, etc. Tells them to man up and all the rest of that kind of stuff, and mixes it in with a whole load of other nonsense. I've seen a couple of videos on him, and they seem to be exposing him as essentially doing all this for pyramid schemes. He's got all these courses you can sign up for, all sorts of nonsense. Basically, he just seems like a complete scammer, complete grifter. Now, he was recently kicked off all social media platforms, and all of a sudden, he's converted to Islam. So, we're going to go through this little clip of this conversation that he had with uh, Mohammad Hijab, and I'll discuss as we go along why this is the most obvious fake conversion in human history, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm really quite surprised, to be honest, that nobody else seems to have just called this for what it is. Everyone's kind of hedging their bets and everything. Well, I'm making this judgment call. He's a liar. He's a fake. This whole thing is a scam, and we're going to see why.
I wanted to ask you now, because it's the hot topic, especially the Muslim community, about your conversion. So tell us the story, like what happened exactly. Well, I think a lot of people who've been following me for a while understand that I've been very respectful of Islam for a long time. I was born in a Christian country. I was raised as a Christian, and I've always been very respectful of Islam. And it's become more and more obvious to me and more pertinent that Islam is the last religion.
Right, number one, I haven't really seen any of this guy's content, but I've seen a couple of the reaction videos in recent weeks, including one from David Woods, and he put up a couple of clips of him basically being incredibly insulting of Islam, just equating it all to terrorism, and that's it. That's all Muslims are, and there was a few other bits and pieces like that. So the fact that this guy is claiming to always have been respectful of Islam just sounds like complete nonsense. Secondly, what the hell does that mean, saying Islam is the last religion? I mean, first of all, it's not true. I mean, there's plenty of religions have come after Islam. Sikhism, I think, is after Islam. You got Mormonism. You got the Ismaili branch, which some would say is like a break off of Islam, which came later. I mean, all sorts of different religions have come afterwards. So if he's talking chronologically, obviously it's not the last. If he means that Islam is the last religion on the planet, obviously not true. There's thousands of religion around. So I can only assume he means he thinks it's going to be the last religion, which, yeah, okay. Does that demonstrate the truth claim of Islam? No, even if that was to be the case. So already this is looking really unconvincing, but let's spin on.
When I talk about Islam, because I'm new to it, I'm a little bit careful, right? Because I'm new to it. I'm certainly not a scholar. There's so much I need to learn. I know I'm on a learning journey. I'm not here to sit there and talk scripture. I don't know those things yet. I'm here to learn.
Right, there's a red flag for anyone who is persuaded by this guy's story. The first thing he's basically saying is, I don't know any of the scripture. I've not read any of it. I'm completely ignorant on it. Right, well, how the fuck have you converted based on that? That is ridiculous. I mean, why did you convert to something that you don't understand and that you haven't read? So if anyone doesn't see that as a warning sign that this is obviously a scam, you really have to have your blinders on.
But thank you, bro. Thank you. But it's just, for me, it feels like the last religion on earth. I feel like there's no other religion. People say to me, "Why did you convert?" I said, "I don't really feel it as a conversion. It's almost like I knew God was real, and now I've become religious."
Yeah, but that makes no sense. I mean, sidestepping this stupid comment, then, oh, you knew God was real. Well, it doesn't stop you picking any of 1,000 other religions that are around. There's no reason to suddenly look at Islam, especially considering you've already conceded you know fuck all about the religion. So why you would suddenly say, oh, yeah, well, I'm a Muslim, of course, makes no sense.
So you were religious before. I was like, religious before how? Christian? What does Christian mean? Like, who's not a Christian? You go to Christian.
Well, most of the planet is not a Christian, so what a stupid question. What does Christian mean? Means that you follow the religion of Christianity. You're a Jesus follower. I mean, it's, don't know if this is a rhetorical question or not, but it's a stupid one.
Christian nations, and everyone says they're a Christian. Look how they live their lives. Go to the average church. Is anyone actually fearful of God? Anybody? No. The girls are out on a Saturday night drinking, and then they turn up to church because their parents made them.
Yeah, well, I hate to break this to you, mate, but I know plenty of Muslims who go out drinking, both men and women. I've known many across the years. So if you think that Islam represents some paragon of perfect virtue following every tenet of the religion, then you are really mistaken.
But there's no substance to the religion, and also Islam very closely reflects my personal beliefs. Through my personal life, I've learned that if you don't have standards and you're not a strong person who's prepared to defend his ideas, you will be crushed.
Yeah, what standards are those exactly? I mean, what standards are you talking about? I mean, there's loads of footage of you being a pisshead, drinking and whoring around, and you being as sexually promiscuous as anyone else, and just basically being a money grubbing scam artist, as far as I can see from you. So, what values are you talking about here?
And we look at most religions in the world today, which are not prepared to defend their ideas. What's happening? They're just getting crushed. And now we have Christianity as an idea, which is basically said, well, we can't set any firm rules because everyone will just quit. So
well, that's obviously not the case, is it? I mean, Christianity is still the largest religion in terms of membership in the whole world. So everyone's not suddenly up and left because there aren't suddenly these firm rules as you're trying to claim. I mean, yes, you can argue that Christianity's had a collision with modernity and therefore has been forced to adapt to the modern world in a way that there hasn't been a similar kind of pressure on Islam. But again, what has this got to do with anything? How does this show that Islam is more true, or why? I mean, this just seems completely emotional reasons to want to convert to a religion because it seems tough and powerful and it's standing firm and all this kind of nonsense. I mean, these aren't real reasons. This is bullshit.
Instead, let's make it so easy to be a Christian that nobody has to put any effort in. Yeah. And then accept everybody no matter what, and hopefully we can keep the church doors open. That's not God to me. No? Yeah. God to me is strong. God to me is something to be feared. God to me,
God's something to be feared. Okay, I think you'll find there's plenty of Christians and Jews and people of other religions that also fear God. I mean, it kind of runs through the Abrahamic faiths, like it's commonplace. So where you getting the idea that, I don't know, Muslims and people that fear their God is again just stupid.
Someone that people are afraid to mock. Yes. God to me is someone that you have to go out of your way to prove something to. God to me has red lines. Like God to me represents the Islamic faith. The Christian God to me, I don't see God.
Yeah, well, again, it's supposed to be the same God. So again, this is just kind of stupid, and it just sounds like you're sucking up to a Muslim audience, and particularly the kind of crowd that Hijab draws. Obviously, he gets, let's face it, some of the lowest of the low in terms of character, in terms of thought process that goes into their religion. So you're basically appealing to those that just want to bash Christianity to make their own religious delusions seem better. So again, it just sounds nothing like just doing showmanship for the audience. There's no content here.
I can't explain. I don't see anything there. So to me, it was the only logical choice in the end. I mean, as you're saying, I'm sure many people are like ecstatic and extremely happy. It's a great thing for everyone, honestly, because
Well, it's a great thing for you, Hijab, because you are the biggest fame chaser in the Dawa community. And the fact that you've got this interview going on with him, yeah, you're happy as a pig in shit. And there's plenty of other Muslims who will kind of cheer this for some reason. I have no idea why, just because it's a famous name and this somehow brings respect to Islam or something. It really doesn't. I mean, this guy is a known scam artist. He's got all sorts of dodgy crap in his background in terms of investigations, in terms of, was it violence against women and potential sex trafficking. I think there's still an ongoing investigation in that, back when he was living in Romania or something. I mean, there's all sorts of dodgy crap. You really want Islam to be associated with that?
Just anyone from Islam. But imagine somebody with major influence. You're the most evil person on the planet. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, so there it is, isn't it? This is it's just a numbers game. You think that you can, well, I mean, particularly for Mohammad Hijab, he's thinking of the hundreds of thousands of people. Actually, I think the original conversation he did with this guy is an hour long, and it's what I think got a couple of million views already. So yeah, that's why Mohammed Hijab has got that shitty grin on his face. Because for him, he's thinking, yeah, I'm getting banked for this. I'm getting paid for it. So yeah, of course, you're happy about this influence. And there's going to be a certain number of Muslims who are kind of insecure enough that they need this kind of validation by just somebody who's famous. Doesn't matter who they are, says something nice about Islam, and suddenly it's like, oh, this is amazing. But again, there's no content to this. There's nothing to show the value of Islam or Islam is true. This is just, again, it's empty.
Putin might have beat me as of last week, but I think it's between me and Putin at the moment. But I don't want to lose to Putin. Look, Putin's the big G. I don't want more enemies. Like it's fine, Vladimir. You can have it.
Yeah, that's really great, isn't it? You want Islam associated with someone who's what bigging up a dictator who's essentially who's caused a war in Eastern Europe. Yeah, that's really great. Looks brilliant for Islam.
I never thought I'd hear you say that statement. Yeah. I think we're just something to most people. But no, it's definitely something beautiful, and a lot of people have. You'd be surprised at how many women involved. Like, because obviously the accusations of misogyny and stuff. Yeah. But a lot of women, alhamdulillah, especially in the Muslim world, they absolutely end. In fact, let me tell you a story. Just before I came here today, one particular woman, I can't remember that name.
You can't remember her identity. Okay, so this random anonymous woman who you can't remember the name of. Yeah. Anyone think this story is going to be true, relevant, interesting, or have any point other than just Mohammed Hijab talking crap?
And actually, my friend told me that she was kicked out of school. Yeah, because they had campaigning against school. I'm not sure if it was. Yeah, this was part of the cancellation. I didn't know about this. Yeah.
Sorry, how old is this friend of yours that she was kicked out of school? I mean, Andrew Tate hasn't really been on the scene that long. I mean, in terms of his popularity, it's only been this year. I know he's, in terms of his kind of more global reach, I know he's been around for a couple of years doing this scam artist crap. But you're saying this girl's at school and she's a friend of yours? All right, red flag for me. But let's carry on.
In British schools, they say that she's saying good about this person, or you have to report it or prevent it. And if you say anything, you have to kind of combat extremism or whatever, maybe, right? So she, because when you became Muslim, she abstained from doing that. She said, I can't really do that because Islamic laws and his backbiting and for honor in Islam and so on. And unfortunately, they fired her. Wow.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So she was a teacher at a school, you're saying, and she got fired because the school wanted her to report to Prevent, which for anyone who's not viewing from Britain, this is like a government organization. It's supposed to be like a counter-extremism kind of strategy where people that kind of show worrying signs of being involved with kind of things like terrorist activity and that kind of thing, it's a way of you kind of reporting on those details, people that might need to be looked into. Now, whatever you think about that, I know for a fact that Prevent are not interested in who's talking shit or who's supporting Andrew Tate. Okay, Andrew Tate's not top of the extremists. They, tend to be focused on people, who blow stuff up, that kind of thing. So this story just sounds completely made up.
So you can see that the level of encroachment we're talking about here. So, and it shows you that the level of fraternity that exists, and not only the fact that
the level of fraternity, like you just said, she suddenly felt that she couldn't criticize a fellow Muslim. You act as if that kind of blind loyalty is a good thing. You could argue on one level this is why things like Prevent have had to be encouraged, because this sense of loyalty has stopped, I think, amongst some Muslim people from talking about people who've been involved in illegal activities and stuff out of this sense of blind loyalty. And there's a lot of people who've suffered because of that. So loyalty is one thing. Blind loyalty is terrible and allows all kinds of negative consequences. So saying, oh, this fraternity is fraternity, like it's a great thing, I don't think it is.
What you're looking at on Twitter, whatever, Twitch Twitter or whatever social media is not a representation of what's really happening. Of course, and I mean that's crazy to hear. And what's most crazy is, yeah, the fervor behind this idea that I'm somehow extremist is truly clown world. Like I've sat.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think you're an extremist. I think you are somebody who's easily able to manipulate outrage. So you mix up a combination of kind of self-help advice generally towards young men. You throw in some wacky crap where you talk about women being property or whatever other misogynistic bullshit that you talk about. And yeah, and then you kind of wrap it all up in this way of, yeah, if you're going to be a man, come sign up to my my pyramid scheme, and this will make you rich and successful when you can go around getting laid as much as I do. So yeah, I don't think that you're an extremist at heart. I think you're a clever manipulator. You're a scammer who knows how to work outrage on social media. So yeah, I agree. You're not.
As a professional and analyzed my content and understood which things can be taken out of context and which things were said in a way perhaps it shouldn't have been said before I was massively famous. But we have to sit here and understand that if you take anybody on the planet and give them 7 years of YouTube and then they decide and they blow up big, you're going to be able to find 30 to 45 seconds of clip across all those years that can be taken out of context, right? Yeah. And it's truly crazy because they sit and say, oh yeah, but you know, the young boys are watching your stuff and they don't truly understand all of it, and there's nuance that's missing. And my argument is very simple. My argument is, well, one, you're taking small clips out of context, and two, there's not a single piece of content on the internet that a 14-year-old boy can't misunderstand. Name someone who's producing content on the internet that you would be 100% happy for a 14-year-old to control.
Well, yeah, that might be true, but you know, it's not like a single piece of content, is it? As I say, I mean, I don't personally know, but I've seen plenty of the stuff going around about you. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really got the patience to sit through hours of your bullshit, but yeah, you kind of stylize yourself on being this kind of oh, crush the feminists, oh, men need to take back the power and women need to know their place kind of stuff. So yeah, you can talk about out of context, and yeah, I mean, that's generally true, but I think there's enough to draw a picture of what you really are. So yeah, I'm not buying it.
So they're saying that, I mean, I live in an area, I'm not going to mention the names of the artists, but they're talking about going to this person's house and killing him. And killing him in the middle of a knife crime epidemic. Yeah. We have little Nas twerking on having sex with the devil in his music videos. Like, we're going to sit here and talk about how children can be impressionable young children, and I'm sitting there saying there's no way I'm the worst person on the internet. That's not why they delete it. The difference for them is, as you've mentioned, on those fronts, it doesn't matter to them because it's like, okay,
yeah, sorry, I'll sped this up a bit because this is just bullshit at the moment. I'll slow it down if we get to something a little bit more salient.
Consuming our hedonistic products or whatever it is, it doesn't change their worldview. Whereas what you're saying is ideological now. You're challenging the status quo of the LW, of the liberal world order. You're challenging second-wave feministic notions. You're challenging some liberal notions. You're challenging ideas, commonplace ideas of tolerance. And George Orwell said it very well. He said that the more a society moved away from it, the more it hates people.
I mean, oh, fucking hell. The fact that Mohammad Hijab dares to quote Orwell. I mean, Orwell is famous for his writings, 1984, Animal Farm, etc., talking about satirizing and criticizing authoritarian regimes, whether they are fascist, Stalinist, whatever. So that's what Orwell is known for. And we're going to get somebody who advocates for an extreme authoritarian religious state, which is exactly what Mohammad Hijab wants. He wants to live under Sharia, and he's got the gall to quote Orwell in terms of some rant against liberal values, when Orwell would have been appalled by everything that hijab stands for. So yeah, it's almost offensive to hear this clown quote someone who's against that kind of authoritarianism, the exact kind of shit that this guy promotes 24/7 on his channel.
Absolutely, and you're right. And I think even the basic things, like some people have said to me, Andrew, all you teach about is personal responsibility, motivation, working hard, getting up and doing the right thing. I said,
yeah, and join your pyramid scheme and fuck the bitches and be a shallow, superficial idiot. Yeah, you left those little details out.
That's those are the things they're most afraid of. If you teach people to have standards for themselves and to be morally strong people and to know right from wrong, then they get brainwashed.
I mean, This is what happens. Like, this is what scammers do. I mean, he's talking as if he's been the paragon of virtue and moral value and traditional family values. He's now going to try and portray himself as that thing when he's built a career doing the exact opposite. Well, I mean, a career. I mean, I don't want to call it that. I mean, that sort of gives it a legitimacy. He's scammed money essentially by cultivating a kind of personality cult which promotes everything that's the opposite to that. And because he thinks every couple of videos he'll throw in a line about you know, tidy your room in kind of Jordan Peterson style, that somehow means he is a paragon of moral virtue and family values. I mean, it's a fucking joke.
So that's what they're most afraid of. They're most afraid of young men waking up and going, no, I don't believe that. You have to believe it. No, I don't believe it. I don't want to. And I want to go do this. I want to go to the gym, be strong, or I want to go do this, or I want to be a moral person. They genuinely have a problem with baseline morality. Yes, you understand. When some people recognize when I converted to Islam that there was a time I was atheist, a time when I was atheist. And the reason I am now so absolutely certain that God is real is because I've seen evil. I've seen Shaitan. I've seen it. When you see enough evil.
Yeah, what evil was that? Was that the fact that you got kicked off all your social media platforms for various things? I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but I mean, it's clear that you're desperate for a new audience, and to me, this is the key reason why you're claiming to have converted to Islam, because you know there's a shit ton of Muslims who have popular audience. They got hundreds of thousands of people, and you can tap into that. So you're out in the social media wilderness right now, and that's the real evil you see. Yeah, we'll come back to that point. Let's listen to him ramble on a bit.
You realize that there must be equal and opposite force, and there are people out there in the world today doing the work of the devil, genuine demons who are trying to destroy the baseline morality that's inside all of us. We're all born with some kind of morality, and they're trying to destroy it. That's exactly the Islamic understanding. That we believe that you're born with something, which is the initial goodness. You're born with an innate belief, which is that you believe in one God, and then that is corrupted. In fact, there's a prophet, hadith of the prophet, says, "كل مولود يولد على الفطرة." Every born child is born upon the initial goodness. فأبواه يهودانه أو ينصرانه أو يمجسانه. And then his father and mother or his parents, they socialize him into Christianity, Judaism. So the idea is that everyone's born with this initial goodness and this initial will or one.
Yeah, and it's a bullshit, stupid idea that's been refuted 1,000 times. Yeah, everyone is not born into having an innate belief in God. Okay, it's a process of socialization. You learn it from your parents to believe in God. This has been debunked 1,000 times. So yeah, whatever.
To believe in God, one God, and then as you mentioned, what you're mentioning is really profound. You're mentioning a central doctrine in Islam. But it's and this is why perhaps I found God the way I did, because I understood all these things first, and then I saw the Quran, and it confirmed so many things for me.
Hang on a minute, you saw the Quran. I mean, you certainly didn't read the Quran. That's what you were saying before. You don't know anything about the scriptures, and yet are you going to go back now? I mean, was it just looking at the book, or are you now pretending that you've read some of the Quran? Which story are we going with?
Even the conversations I'm having so far, so many things have been confirmed, and it's amazing the knowledge that's inside of it is so applicable today.
What knowledge in the Quran is applicable today? Number one, how would you know that if you haven't read it? And number two, assuming you have read it and you're backtracking on the previous position, what moral lessons, what is so great in that Quran that is so applicable today? Can you name one thing? No. Well, we'll see from the rest of this video, but I don't remember him mentioning a single sodding thing about what lessons you can draw from the Quran. Again, this is just all playing to the audience.
For an old book, right? It's supposed to be old, but it seems so timeless.
Well, yeah, it is old, but it's not timeless. Obviously, it's of its time. It's of the 7th century to the 9th century, depending on when it's likely to have been written. And yeah, they are a set of morals from that time, and most of it, I'd say virtually all of it, is not applicable today.
But it's truly amazing. But you're totally right. And the baseline morality, I don't think most people understand that when they're doing this under the guise of tolerance. So they're saying be so tolerant that you no longer believe in right from wrong. They're not doing that to make society.
Yeah, who's saying that? Who's saying you no longer believe in right or wrong? And what tolerance are you talking about? Again, this is just, it's going to be a diatribe against whatever feminists or, woke people or, this and that. Just general kind of bullshit. Or, anyone who doesn't sign up to your kind of reactionary bullshit. Yeah, you know, they don't know right from wrong, because you know, they might see women as equal human beings. You're terrible.
Society a better place. They're doing that to empty your brain so that you have no resistance to the slave mind programming. They want to get you to a point where they tell you the sky is green. You look at it with your own eyes, and you see blue, but no, the sky is green. That's what they want. So they have to have nothing in your brain that can prevent that. If you have God, you have no, I believe this is right and wrong. If you have personal responsibility, if you have self-accountability, if you're a person who sticks up for what you believe, all that's bad to them. They want all of that gone so they can tell you the sky is green. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want the stream to end, but they're going to tell you something much worse than the sky is green. They're going to tell you something else. And it's, they're trying to program us all into slaves.
I remember when I was in my undergraduate days, I was reading a book by Stackpole Jeremy that became like, the spiritual forefather of Judaism, who is the father of like social media.
Yeah. Fake scholar bullshit. Yeah, you're real intellectual.
He said that, you have two gods. You have the god of pain and the god of pleasure. And I thought, this is so interesting. The Quran states, you've seen the one who takes his own desires as a god. And because now there is no science and then
Yeah, which doesn't really connect to what Bentham was saying. That's a completely separate point. So this is, once again, he's pretending to be intellectual. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
force that we can look up and actually venerate. Now we're forced to be slaves to the system. And we're to our own desires, or the Quran.
Yeah, what do you the slaves of the system? You want people to be slaves to Allah and slaves to the system of Sharia. So what have you got a problem with? You're just annoyed that it's slaves to the wrong thing. So yeah, whatever.
Another verse which I think is so powerful, connects very well with what you're saying. It's God ضرب الله مثلا رجلا, that God has struck a parable of a man فيه شركاء متشاكسون, that he's got many different slave owners. ورجل سلم لرجل.
And he should just have Allah as his slave owner, because it's much better when you've only got one slave owner.
And another kind of man, he's only got one slave owner. God is basically telling us in the Quran that he's got one example of one individual who's got multiple slave owners, and another one with just one. Are they the same? So here, the idea is...
Yeah, it never occurred to you to think maybe you shouldn't have any slave owners, just as a possible thought. Well, it's probably why you still advocate for slavery under Sharia, but yeah, whatever.
As Rousseau said it, the philosopher said that man is born free, but everywhere in chains. This is the order, because if you don't have that God to worship, then you're going to end up having to worship everything else. And the whole part of the Shahada, the true meaning of that, La ilaha illallah, is that there is no God worthy of worship except for one God. Which means that your desires or the system or these people that want to control us, the problem is they're not worthy of worship. The only one worthy of our subordination and submission is the creator of heaven.
I mean, what's funny about this is Andrew Tate is, when he's talking about these people trying to control us, he's talking sort of, I don't know, he's partially in like Alex Jones kind of conspiracy territory. There's the shadow elites and stuff like that. And Mohammad Hijab is, when he's talking about it, he's talking about liberalism in general, just kind of like it's this conspiracy to corrupt the Islamic youth or some bullshit. And yet it's obvious they completely come from different points of view, but he's trying to like artificially crush this together as if they're talking about the same thing, and they're clearly not.
Yeah, there's no one else. I agree, and I completely agree. I've agreed with this for the longest time. I've never been to like a music concert, and people ask me why, and I say, I just look at it and I feel embarrassed. I look at someone up on a stage dancing around, and I look at hundreds of thousands of peasants in the crowd. Yeah. I'm like, it's embarrassing. I feel cringe. It's like secondhand embarrassment when I see these festivals and everyone's losing their mind at the concert. I genuinely feel embarrassed for the people who go, because to me that is a form of worship. Like, you can listen to the music at home.
I mean, this is a bizarre fucking rant. I mean, what's he do? He used to be a kickboxer. I assumed he had an audience. I mean, does he not understand the dynamic of a piece of entertainment that people go to see? I mean, did he think all the people that were watching him as a kickboxer were all peasants? Well, I mean, maybe he does. I mean, he probably considers all the people that sign up to his pyramid scheme as peasants as well. But I mean, it's such a bizarre rant. You can't understand that people will go to a concert to have a good time, to be entertained. No, you think they're literally worshipping whoever's on stage. I mean, mostly people are just getting out of their head and trying to get laid and stuff like that and enjoying the music. It's entertainment, and yet he's wrapped this into what? Some part of a bigger conspiracy of people being corrupted or something. I mean, why don't you listen to music at home? Why don't you do kickboxing at home? Why bother go watching Andrew Tate do kickboxing? It's such a stupid argument.
You don't have to wait in that line and stand out with the cold. I don't know. Perhaps it was a bit extreme, but I've always known that they're trying to give us false idols to some degree. And when I speak to atheists say, "Oh, I don't believe in God," but they've signed up so hard to the liberal woke agenda. They're as religious as anybody, but they're just believing in the wrong thing.
Yeah, so what should they do? They should believe in your bullshit. This is what you're saying. And this kind of goes back to the point. I mean, I don't know if he's going to talk about him being cancelled on social media. I watched the last bit of this. I can't remember, and just see if it comes up. But this is going to be the key point for me anyway.
Believing in degeneracy, or believing in the work of the devil. So humans always need something to believe in. And it's a great thing you said about your own desires. It's like one guy I was talking to on conversion says, it's interesting that somebody with everything, all the Western world, everything somebody could want has now converted. And I said, yeah, because even before my conversion, I understood that hedonism is a black hole and you can never fill it. You're never going to be able to have enough girls to be happy with girls. You're never going to be able to have enough money to be happy with money. You're never going to be able to, drink enough to be happy.
Yeah, and yet these are all the things that you promoting, and this is exactly what you've promoted to the men essentially who have you've been kind of pulling into your cult and trying to sign up to your pyramid scheme. And this goes back to the whole cancellation thing. Now, I think he's supposed to be back on Twitter now. I don't know if he's been part of like the Elon Musk resurrection. But the point is, certainly up until very recently, he hasn't had access to his audience. He's been off Twitter and he's been off YouTube and he's been off Facebook and all the rest of it. So it's clear he was looking, number one, to get platform. He's using these Muslim channels platform, and you can see every time this guy coughs now, you get a dozen different Muslim big channels will make videos about it. I mean, I saw Sanko, what was it, last week, where there was some guy had said something negative about Islam, and then Andrew Tate responds, and it's all over YouTube. Everyone's making videos about it, and the entire Ummah is praising him. Now, we don't think that this might just be part of the reason he's claiming to be a Muslim now, because you can just use other people's platforms. Number two, there are plenty of young Muslim men. In fact, they're going to be the majority of the people that follow people like Hijab and Ali Dar and all the rest of them. This is a brand new audience. And if you are claiming to be a Muslim, you're getting endorsed by these big figures in the Dawa community. It's going to be very easy to say, well, signing up to Andrew Tate's pyramid scheme, whatever it is, life advice, coaching and all the rest of it, and how to get rich through investments and stocks, this has now got the halal stamp on it. So there's going to be thousands of these guys are going to be signing up and doing all this, and he's going to be making a fat load of cash of it. And once that's been milked enough, he's going to move on to the next audience. And if you think about it, now he's, as I say, I think he's back on Twitter now. He'll use this for a while. He'll do the whole Muslim thing till he's made enough money out of it, and then it'll either go quiet on it, or sadly there'll be this big reveal. I've realised that Islam isn't the true religion. Well, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, that option is going to be more dangerous to him, as he'll find out. I mean, if he does the public leaving Islam thing, he might find the reaction not to his liking. But he may move on to some religion. He's most likely just going to go quiet about it and do some other kind of scam on the side. But I mean, it just shows that there are clear and obvious reasons why this guy is claiming to convert. You've got a mass new audience. You can use other people's platforms, and you're going to get a load of people sign up. The fact that he knows nothing about Islam just confirms it. And I mean, I'll play the last little bit of this performance, but I don't think there's much left of any content anyway.
Happy with drinking, like it's a black hole, and you can pour endless things down it, but you'll never fill it up. And you need to have some degree of self-restraint. And I've always been a very disciplined person. I've never made mistakes, but certainly, yeah, the higher power is going to give you more satisfaction in your heart than endless insanity. Yeah,
so I mean, this is basically how I was saying. Just before I played that last little clip, it's an obvious scam. I don't know why everybody else is giving him the benefit of the doubt on this, so I just thought I'd throw my 2 pence in and say, yeah, this is bullshit. And I think it just shows a real sad desperation amongst Muslims who've been taken into this whole thing. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. Thanks for listening, anyone does, and I'll catch you next time.